Welcome to Medicine. I'm Dr. Othniel Doolittle here today with Dr. Amanda Mulch. She's the Assistant Dean of Student Affairs at SIU School of Medicine. She's the recent past president of SEMA, or Southern Illinois Medical Association, and currently the secretary and treasurer. Her passion is her family, her kids, and her career right now, which is a change from her OB-GYN and into the medical school. So we're going to talk today a little bit about that transition, the brokenness of the healthcare system, but then also the importance of medical societies and how we can survive as physicians in a very difficult arena, and how to reset our mindset a little bit to be in the right space, to be a whole person. So thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm just curious, like, what drew you into medicine in the first place? And then why, like, OB-GYN?
Growing up, I thought family medicine was going to be where I would find my my future career because of the patient relationship and wanting to foster that and enjoying that. But in medical school, during clerkship year, I really learned that I absolutely loved working with my hands and being in the operating room.
Yeah.
And so OBGYN was just kind of the natural fit to be able to foster all of those aspects of medical care, getting to know your patients, caring for them over the course of their life, and also getting to do surgery and procedures and fill that cup.
Did you have like a mentor that also pushed you that direction or said you would be good at this?
I didn't really have any mentors that were pushing me into OB-GYN. It just felt like a natural fit when I was considering what I wanted to apply to and what I was really passionate about for my future.
Sometimes we look only for other people to give us and say like, hey, you should do this. And if you're not being told you should do something, then maybe you shouldn't do it. And clearly that's not the case. People are missing that. But also, like, how does that right now, as you're coaching and leading medical students into like career choices, how do you like apply what, like, you don't even know what skills you had that drew you into being a good OB-GYN doc.
Yeah.
How do you coach medical students like about what path they should go into?
It's a challenge, and we talk about it all the time. A lot of the students are always coming in with questions, and, you know, they're nervous and scared about medicine. There's so much information. There's so much confusion. Healthcare is a bit of a mess right now. And so they're nervous. When they start, they don't really have any idea what they want to do, or they think they know what they want to do, and they quickly learn that maybe not. So the statistics are 75% of medical students will change their mind on their career by the time they get to the end of third year. So that's a big statistic.
Yeah.
So, first off, I start out the conversation with all of them as a group, just with those statistics, to let them know that it's okay to not know what you want to do and to really open themselves up fully to the experience. And I told them just, make sure that you take every opportunity that you have, especially the first couple of years, to talk to all specialties. If you get the opportunity to meet a physician in that specialty or the care team in that specialty, it doesn't matter. Ask the questions, ask them why they're in that field of medicine, what they love about it, what they hate about it. Because I think that's just as important, or what they might have wanted to know or wish they'd known before they got into it. Because I don't know about you, I feel like once you choose that specialty and you get into the residency and then that training, it's really hard to change paths in medicine after that. It's really expensive to do that, and most expensive with our time. Really, that's our most precious commodity.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to change that. And so I encourage them to keep an open mind and not to narrow their perspective from the very beginning. And I tell them to look for their passion, really to, after they have an experience or a conversation, to take a few minutes afterwards and reflect on how they felt, not the medicine, because I mean, almost any aspect of medicine is fascinating, right? Especially for the first few minutes or the first day or two. It is fascinating, but really to reflect on how they felt in different situations with different people. There are personalities that seem to gravitate towards certain specializations of medicine.
Yeah.
You know, how do you feel when you're interacting or spending time with those people all the time? What does the setting where the primary aspect of that care is carried out, how does that make you feel? Do you enjoy being in the OR, or do you feel completely out of your depths and uncomfortable the entire time? How do you feel in the ICU? How do you feel in the clinic? What do you think about having a predictable schedule? Or, you know, do you enjoy not knowing what's coming? A little bit of chaos can sometimes be fun. Everybody has a different tolerance or predilection for different things. And so I tell them to reflect and, you know, keep notes. I get some funny looks when I tell the students to keep notes on their reflections after experiences. But I found that if they go back, you know, if they're really on the fence or undecided after those first 3 years on what they want to do, it's a nice resource to reflect back on and see, you know, oh gosh, when I was, you know, in the family medicine clinic, my reflections were really warm and I seemed excited. And they may have forgotten that in all of the noise of everything else.
That's really good.
Yeah. So I challenge them to do that. And I always tell them that, you know, I want to see you at a reunion 10 years from now and be able to ask you, do you love what you're doing? Did you make the right choice? And I want all of them to say yes.
It's fascinating that we're young and not young.
Yeah.
And exposed to some things, but like when I chose med peds, I didn't even know it existed as a specialty. In my third year, as I finished up third year, I was just like, I really wish there was a thing called pediatrics and medicine combined, and Googled it. And because we lack the exposure to everything.
Yes. There's not enough time.
Yeah. I was thinking about the reflecting on things being so crucial, because we do have a lot of busyness. And then it's fascinating talking about just the brokenness in the all of medicine, but in the institution of academia, that as a chief of staff at a hospital, as we credential people, if you did switch residencies, especially partway through, like it's a red flag.
Yeah.
Like what happened? Why did you not know what you were? And it shouldn't be like that. It's unfortunate that there's like the patterns were set that the only people that change have issues. And then there's also the patterns that you mentioned of like the type of people that go in. And so we continue to fill residencies with people that are very similar in personality, where we don't seek that diversity. Even in medical school, I think we talked about this a little bit. My dad recommended this as well, that he always tells students to do their pre-med track, but at the same time, like get a degree in liberal arts or music or language, because you need to be well-rounded and don't just be a science nerd only.
Absolutely.
And so we're starting there, but then we hit residency, and you really will fit best if you are the same as everybody else, which is fascinating that we're at that point, and continue to like follow that. It's hard to go against the grain.
It is hard. And I think that as a profession, we have kind of continued to propagate that in the fact that it is very difficult to have healthy interests outside of medicine.
Yeah.
Because we're so busy all the time, and it consumes such a large aspect of our life and our identity. So it's really hard, and we hope to continue to cultivate that in the students now. It's one of the interesting things we talk about over at SIU with the School of Medicine because, we are pass fail. So there's a lot of conversation around, well, how do I distinguish myself enough to be able to be considered even for an interview for residency, especially some of the more competitive specialties that are maybe filtering students out based on metrics or data scores, honors, whatever. There's a whole host of things now that schools are looking at. And so we have this conversation all the time, but that is one of the way that we encourage the students to distinguish themselves is by being a whole person, getting out there and being involved in the community, giving back with service that's important to them. And we hope that they continue that for the rest of their life, getting involved with or keeping up with their music, if that's a way or a, gift that they have that they'd like to continue. Research, of course, that's always the big topic, especially in academia. But, some students are really excited about research. And so we encourage that. But we want them to be a whole person and we want that to be reflected on their application. But most importantly, we want them to carry those skills and that broad definition of who they are as a person into their life for the rest of their career. And I'm hoping that they're picking up on that. I know our students do. And hopefully that will help to start to diversify the specialties.
I love the whole person analogy.
Yeah.
So for you, when did you start to make that shift from clinical into academic and teaching? And I know you still bring up was this the right thing? But then you're teaching your med students, this is the right thing to find something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
That in 10 years that you're like, I love my job and I feel more whole doing this. So what was that path, that transition?
So it's hard to say exactly when the thoughts started, right? Because I was in my career, was in private practice, very busy, didn't have a lot of time to think about me, honestly. Was just, doing the work that I needed to do, taking care of my patients, taking care of my family, and just existing. Sadly.
That's the physician life,
Yeah.
right? Like we give our lives this vocation.
Yes.
It's not a job. It's fascinating that if a plumber said, oh, I just live and die plumbing. I'm on call 24/7, 365. I have a little time for my family. I don't read anything except plumbing stuff. I don't have any hobbies. You'd be like, you're a little weird.
Right?
But when physicians do it, it's like, as it should be.
Yeah, it's expected, right? Absolutely. And almost rewarded in how your colleagues and peers look at you and regard you. There is a sense of reward in working too much or being too dedicated.
I'm talking with a new physician leader, and part of the concern was, I can't give up my clinical days. Like I need to work 5 days a week, long hours, be on call. Like, where do I fit in leadership? Because if I give up a clinical day, am I giving up a fifth of being a physician? And it's still there that clinical is the only way, and being busy. It's kind of an American attribute too. We were discussing just
right.
overworking.
That's a real thing. And it's a real barrier in our minds. And it's not explicitly reinforced, but that feeling is reinforced without being verbally said.
Right.
Throughout the course of our training and throughout our career. So it's a really big deal that I think all physicians are trying to get past that, potentially, if they've even recognized it, that it's a problem.
Yes.
A lot of us don't recognize it
because we don't journal, we don't reflect.
Oh,
yes.
we don't have time. It's actually funny that you say that, because I was speaking with my husband, and now that I have made this career transition, I told him, I said, it would be great if we like talk about a relationship and all of this. And he's like, why after, 20 years are you wanting to start talking about a relationship? I'm like, I actually have time to think about it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It it was one of those things that he didn't take the time or have the time or the mental capacity to think about yourself.
When I was dating my now wife, my mom, the wife of a physician, an ER physician, told her, so you do recognize the job comes first, that the career comes first.
Yeah.
Like family's extremely important. And like you're going to have to fight to make that a priority. But at the same time, like he has to study to get into residency. He has to do all the, back then around the same time, 80 hours. And there's not like a relief from that until afterwards. And then even afterwards, like ER docs are on call all the time. Your private practice, you're on call all the time.
I worked much, much harder after residency than during residency. Yeah. And
It's
residency was hard. Yeah, it is the system. Yeah.
And like your husband willingly entered a relationship knowing that they were second.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That is. And I think no one put that into words for us because we had never been in medicine before. No one in our family had been. So it was kind of a whole new world. My husband, I met him while I was in undergrad here at SIU, and he's from the Carmi area. And he's a civil engineer by training. And he also has a surveying license, got his master's degree at Purdue in civil engineering. And then when we came back after I was finished with my residency training, he went to law school. So he's class of 2010 at the SIU Law School. And he actually taught at the university for a couple of years when we started our family. And we realized that both of us working as much as we were was just not feasible for our family. And so it was a challenge for him, especially as a man, to realize that in this area, I could not step back from being a physician at that time in my life and career after all of that training and time. And so he made the decision to stay home and, be with the kids and raise them. And he definitely got a good end of the deal. I mean, what an amazing opportunity. And he really loved it. And we had conversation. It's probably been about 5 or 6 years ago now that, he's like, I'm going to be 50 soon. I really probably need to get back to my career at some point or I'm not going to have one. And so he made the choice to start a consulting company. And so he does consulting in land law, estates, surveying. He does a little bit of all of that that's in his wheelhouse, which is great. But that kind of, brought forth the, thoughts on what does my career look like? And should I change things up a little bit? It was fortuitous at that time. I actually got a call from Dr. Constance, who was a mentor when I was in medical school. Everybody who has went through SIU knew and loved Dr. Constance.
He's so kind,
absolutely
gregarious,
yes,
huge guy.
Yeah, absolutely, full of personality. Yes, and he called and he's like, this position over at the medical school is opening up. I think you should apply and think about it. And that was a complete surprise. That was definitely not something that I was even considering when I was thinking about how to step back or, change my lifestyle. My first thought was, well, I, would be happy just doing gynecology and, get away from deliveries and the obstetrical aspect. That's challenging to do in a rural community to make that. And so I didn't know what that was going to look like or how that was going to play out. But this kind of opened my eyes to other possibilities with my career. And so I applied and went through the interview process and everything worked out, which was wonderful. But it was a part-time job at that point. And so I was still encouraged to continue with my clinical activities. And so, you know, the way it goes, my thought was, well, I can still do my full-time job and also do this.
Of
That's
course.
ridiculous, right? You cannot divide your time and energy that much. And so after a year or so, writing was on the wall. My husband was very busy with his business. I was ridiculously overcommitted, and we made the decision that it was time to just make a decision and do one thing. So I retired from clinical practice. That was a 6-month process because I had to give 6 months notice. And I still, even when it was time to be finished with that, I still, kind of kept the door open a little bit, like, well, maybe I could go back and do gynecology, part-time. And with malpractice insurance and tails and all of that, it just really turned out to not be a great possibility for the future.
Yeah.
And I really loved the transition, and I found my passion again, which was really exciting. And the family was really happy. Each of them both took multiple times to say, thanks, Mom. I'm glad you made this change. And it seems like a right time in their life to, be present and be able to do all the stuff that they are involved with, go to the things, take the pictures, and just really enjoy that. And it's been definitely very fulfilling for me.
Warms your heart.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yeah. And the students are going to hate that I say this, but I feel like I've gained, 80 kids every year because my family just keeps expanding, which is a beautiful thing.
I love that you've found that passion, enjoying this work. Something that's really important to recognize is that there is other options, like we were discussing,
Absolutely.
that you can be passionate about, that physicians are needed in. You mentioned a few things I want to tie together.
Okay.
So we were talking about the kind of brokenness of the system. So this is us sitting here and saying things have to change.
Yeah.
You said you couldn't cut back at all. The system is such that there is no part-time option, and that you were going to give up OB only, again, because the system is crafted in a way that you are either full-time OB and exhausting yourself, or you're not part of the solution at all, which is fascinating. You were not able to pursue anything outside. So teaching, how great would it be to have a clinical OB-GYN physician that's also helping with academia? And instead you're not able to do that, and it's only 2 full-time jobs at the same time, and you have to be forced into something different. And I think that's really important to recognize that that's not a sustainable system for humans to be whole. Yeah, we have to have careers and paths where we're treating people like humans and not like an AI agent that you're only doing this thing, focus on this.
It's further complicated by where we live and where we decide to serve. I think that, my career probably could have been more crafted towards serving all of those different areas more responsibly if I had been in a larger town or a city. But here in the rural area, I mean, we're hurting. We're hurting for specialties. We're hurting for good physicians. And it's hard to do a little bit of everything. And to, I hate to say it, but to get compensated for that.
Right.
When I was in private practice, I was doing teaching. I took a student, I had a student with me every year. I gave lectures, as needed. I still give lectures on OB-GYN topics for the medical students and the PA students. However, that's not in my job description for what I do now, but it's challenging because those are all an additional task that you volunteer to do, because it's important and somebody has to do it. But there's too much work and too much need, I think, to go around.
We are so trained that we are the only people to fix that. And so now ER doctors have begun to say, well, my shift ends and, you find somebody to replace me, I'm out. And no, I'm not picking up those extra shifts. And they're like, well, we're in a rural area and we don't have a lot of money to give you. And the ER docs can say, no, I recognize that, but that's not my problem. Like that, we tend to take on as physicians the burden, and you should be able to have a mother physician come to a rural area and provide any specialty, unique specialty that's hard to find, and say, but I'm only doing this amount of it because I have to be a whole person. And we have to fix that system.
It's not sustainable and it's not healthy or taking care of our physicians.
Correct.
Yeah. I think that's why we're seeing such a large exodus from the profession.
Yeah.
And it's really sad.
Yeah.
Because we've spent a lot of money, personal money, obviously, to do this. But then as a community, there's a lot of taxpayer money that goes into training physicians.
Yes.
That no one's talking about.
Our salaries as residents are funded by the federal government.
Correct.
And so that's taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely.
And then we push them into a system. It worked before. It worked when there was a different need in healthcare. But at this point and at this place where we're at in America, who our people are that we're serving and that we are, the system is broken and burning people out. Like you said, this exodus, we were talking about how some doctors are looking at rental properties and how can we get into different things entirely, leaving medicine behind entirely. And that's 8+ years of, 12 years of science training and medical training and then practice, and they're getting better at medicine. And then the system says it's better for them to leave entirely and become rental property managers than to fix the system.
Which is ridiculous when you say that out loud, right? Yeah. It doesn't even compute.
But I love that you're having the conversation with the medical students about what direction to go, how to reflect, how to be a whole person, so that they can start looking for those jobs and those specialties. Like eventually, surgery, for example, neurosurgery, they will have to change if they want residents.
Absolutely. And if they want physicians to stay in that area or at that program. And that is one of the questions that all the students are asking is, well, what about lifestyle? And sometimes we know which specialties that is, but they are scared to even consider certain specialties because of the perceived lifestyle. And so I always encourage them to continue to keep an open mind, because if they're passionate about that type of medicine, what a loss if they decide not to do it because they're worried about the schedule. And I tell them that they can choose their job. Once they're done with the training, they can choose where they work. They can choose how they work. And I think it's those choices that are going to start to shape the system and fix the system. We have to stand up for ourselves and we have to have boundaries.
And it's for ourselves and our families. We're in a generation that's seen a lot of broken homes, a lot of divorce, a lot of kids growing up themselves without the parents that they thought they wanted and think they need, and they want to provide for their children. And it's not lifestyle of just, I want to be able to put my feet up and have scallops every evening.
Right?
It's like you said, the biggest thing was your children said thank you.
Yeah.
You were back into something that you're passionate about and not getting burned out. Like, not that you were burned out, but it
Yeah,
was
but
unsustainable.
it was. And, I missed a lot of things. And when you're in it, you can kind of justify like, they don't care, they have plenty of other family or friends around them, or it's one event. There's 20 basketball games. If I missed, 25%, is that really a big deal in the end? But I mean, it is.
Yeah,
It is a big deal.
And I think that's important from where you're teaching and from people like me who are in charge of a company or a group that's helping with that scheduling and saying, we do have a great need, especially in rural areas. But also, like, the most important thing is that our physicians are doing well, and trying to force them into something that's unsustainable. Or if they're in something, some of my physicians do work a lot of hours, and I'm checking in on them. How are you doing? How's your wife? How are your kids? Like, are you hanging in there? I know you're doing this for a time, but we don't want them to burn out.
Right.
So you need physician leaders who are doing those things. And we need the medical students who know they want to be those physician leaders.
Yes.
And want to be part of those groups, part of that job, part of those residency programs. My main choice for residency program was because they were all about family.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing for me. My fourth was born as I started residency. And the program director said during the interview trail, by the way, like, if you had a family emergency, we always tell you to make sure you sign out to your senior resident on your way to the airport. Those patients are all in the hospital. They're all around a whole bunch of other medical providers. The patients are fine. Go take care of your family and just tell your senior resident, hey, this is what I was doing, et cetera. And that mindset of that was the most important. And they recognized that. And I was sold. Like, this is where I want to be. And they modeled that so well. Like, I've talked about the Noltes before as the program directors who showed up. And my wife and I were like, we don't have babysitters or anything. We showed up to this new town, Peoria. And so I called them and said, hey, I need a babysitter for my kids. We need to go in for an ultrasound. And they were like, drop them off at the program director office. And they sat there and they colored on the table. And then they were taken down to Subway downstairs. And that was the leaders who then shaped who I was going to be and who so many residents that went through that program. And I love seeing that in you as well, that you're passionate about something, that you're shaping those next physicians. And it doesn't change just them. It changes their kids. Like, your work, your teaching is changing their children, which is so cool.
That's the hope. And even if that doesn't come to fruition, hopefully they'll hang on to some of the things that we've talked with them about over the years.
As we've talked through leadership and growing people, one of the things that we've talked about before and how we originally sort of connected was medical societies. I loved coming to the Southern Illinois Medical Association meeting and seeing so many people. There were med students and there were physicians willing to drag themselves in their with their walker and turn up their hearing aids. And then we got to hear what they had to say. And I got to sit next to them and chat about their practices and how things have changed over the years and what they've learned. And medicine is different, but the practice of medicine, the art of medicine, is not significantly changed.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get involved in medical society?
So that's actually a funny story as well. And I will blame Dr. Constance again, because when we started talking and I took this position at the medical school, he says, oh, by the way, you're not involved in, I'll call it SEMA for short. He says, you need to be involved in that. I'm going to nominate you to be the second vice president, I think it is what it was. And I was like, okay. And he said, we're going to have our first meeting up in the O'Fallon area. And, it's on this date, just come. Great. So I drove up and went to the first meeting. We only have 2 a year. We have kind of a business meeting in the winter time in February. And then our annual conference meeting is in November. And see how quickly I changed from asked me and now it's our medical association. Yeah. So he quickly got me involved in that. And it's been wonderful. The way that we have our succession for presidency is each year you move up. So second vice president then becomes the vice president and then the president their third year. So I'm just coming off of my year of being the president of SEMA, and it's been a wonderful experience to get to meet physicians of all ages or times in their career from Central and Southern Illinois, and really just talk about what it means to practice in a rural area and where we would like to see the society go in the future. Especially because we're very proud, the second oldest medical association in the country. So wow. 1874 is when they had their first meeting, and the stories are very interesting. But I will say the history has been a little bit sketchy in how it was kept. I'm told that there's several boxes worth of history from the association that has not really been curated or gone through in a long time. So that's actually one of the challenges I have for the medical students that are getting involved, that it'd be a wonderful history project to go through everything, digitize it, and have that available online for members and those that are interested in becoming members to learn more about the history. The history is unbelievable. And some of the stories that I've heard from physicians that are currently in SEMA or from their parents who are children of physicians that were in the society, it's fascinating.
I would read that.
Yeah,
yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
It's amazing. So that is in the works. SEMA is another project of passion that we kind of fit in when there's time. But incorporating that and bringing the students into SEMA over the last year, that was a new thing. The students really hadn't been involved with SEMA at all. And so we've brought them in, we've welcomed them into the conference. They presented their research for the first time, and that went over really well. All of the members that came were really excited to interact with the students and learn what was important to them and learn about their work. And I just thought it added a really nice full circle moment to the conference that we're going to continue for years to come. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Why should medical students and physicians join a medical society? What's the point?
I think it's super important for community.
Yeah.
We're so spread out in life, in our careers, and on the map, right? I mean, Southern Illinois, it's a big place. And so even though we are connected by technology, I feel like, honestly, the relationships are more distant now than they were before that technology existed.
Oh, yes.
Do you feel that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it's really sad. And there's nothing that I have found that replaces being in the same room with somebody. We've gotten into, I think, this bad habit of, if there is a meeting or something coming up, I'll squeeze it in and I'll just join virtually. And we all know when we join something virtually, especially a conference, we're half listening, we're multitasking, doing other things, and we're not really engaged or present. And so being in the same room, meeting with people, talking with people across all stages of their career is really engaging. It's very educational, but it also just makes you feel like you're a part of a really special community.
When we're talking to our kids about, hey, you're distant, like being in your room and just texting us is not the same thing as sitting next to us on the sofa.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the same. And being a whole physician requires you to be in the room with other physician colleagues.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. Being able to sit there. So again, like I was in the back with some older physicians, some of whom I had known for a long time. And it was so much fun that during the presentations, there's a little bit of whispering. There's a little bit of like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that's really fun. You don't get that virtually.
No.
It's just black boxes. People don't like to turn on their cameras.
Yeah.
So you don't see even facial expressions in response to things.
Yeah.
And one of the frustrations I have with technology is that most conversation like we're having now, we talk over each other and that's normal. And phones do that well, where we can say something at the same time. We're hearing it and we're processing and talking. And on Teams and Zoom, et cetera, like when one person talks, the other person's auto muted. You can't talk at the same time. So it becomes a very disjointed, it's like video and audio text messaging though. You can't, they're separate things that you do. And it's not a shared. You get 3 or 4 people, there might be multiple people saying the same, different things. You're hearing it all, you're responding. And that is that community and that wholeness that you do miss if you're not in the same room.
It's a great way to brainstorm, learn that you have similar problems no matter where you're geographically located in the state. You can brainstorm solutions together as a team. It's just a beautiful thing. And so I'm hoping that through SEMA, we're able to grow the number of physicians that are coming and taking that opportunity one day out of the year. I mean, it's one day. I hope that a lot more of our colleagues choose to do that in the future.
Definitely. Wherever they are in the country,
Yes.
physicians need to get involved with their local medical group.
Absolutely. You probably know this. They're dissolving all over. I believe that most counties used to have their own medical association. And most of them, at least in our region, have dissolved. And SEMA is really the only one that we have left for the local community.
Yeah. A few years ago, well, post-COVID had decreased one of the local societies. And one of the older physicians came around and was like handing out flyers, like, please come in, take the time to come in. And just the way we've crafted healthcare in general, there's some, you come into an area and you work there, you live and work. But that tends to be that you come and live and work for a corporation. And when you're working for a corporation, you're not working for a community. That's different.
Yeah.
And then
very different.
Plenty of physicians, I was talking with a CMO and CEO for a surgical group who staffs a lot of surgeons across the US and even at somewhere like in Carbondale, Illinois, which is a decent area, only an hour from a couple cities that have more stuff to do. The surgeons are driving from St. Louis, which is 2 hours away, and they're not going to be part of the local community, the local medical society. And we've crafted that. We've allowed for that. And some of it's, okay, we want to allow a work-life balance to allow you to come in. But the downstream effect of some of those kind of concessions end up hurting our local communities.
Yeah.
We no longer get to sit in a meeting and then after the meeting, chat with the surgeon about patients that you saw recently or some recent surgical guidelines.
Yeah, exactly.
We're fragmented. We have our specialty clinics, our family practice clinics, very different buildings. The hospital group, very different building. Don't let those two meet except virtually.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's very little incentive too, or opportunity for us to have ways to get a hold of each other that are outside of a corporate email or messaging within the electronic health record. And there's a lot that's lost in not having that opportunity.
So one of the things I'd like to go back to is what exactly is the day-to-day thing that you're doing, both at SEMA, like what does a president do? And then also what is your job right now with the medical school? Like what does
Yeah.
the day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So SEMA, or Southern Illinois Medical Association, the president typically will run the annual meeting that's in February. So they'll go through the agenda and talk about each of the talking points and help with committees and get ready for conference planning in November. In November, the president is in charge of just making sure that the conference runs smoothly, introducing speakers, trying to keep things on time.
It was good.
That type of thing. Yeah. I definitely stretched the boundaries of what they'd been doing the last few decades. And so we instituted a lot of new things this year. And at that meeting, our secretary and treasurer for the association was ready to retire from that voluntary position that she had held for the last 20 years. And so they suggested that I take on that position. So now I am the secretary treasurer for SEMA. Again, it's a voluntary position, but now I am transitioning into being responsible for collecting dues and organizing everything and encouraging members or non-members to become members, all of that type of work, which is great. I'm very excited to do it. And honestly, the position that I have at the medical school is really conducive to that because it helps me to get the medical students more involved in that and understanding the importance of community as a physician. So that my job at the medical school, I am officially the Assistant Dean of Student Affairs here in Carbondale. And so I work closely with my staff and peers in Springfield, where the majority of the office is housed. But I essentially take care of the medical students here on the Carbondale campus, of which we have over 100 if you factor in the first year students. So the majority or all of the first year students in medical school are here in Carbondale. And then we have 8 students per year that are in the Lincoln Scholars Program, which is our rural track training. And so that puts us at around the 100 mark of students, which is about a third of the total student population for SIU. And yeah, I get the opportunity to work with them every day. My door's always open, so we have lots of varied conversations. And my work surrounds taking care of them, helping them with getting matriculated into the school, helping with the admissions process, orientation. We get to organize and be there for match day and graduation. All of that's fun, but getting them to that point is challenging.
Yes.
Career counseling, talking about financial support, strategizing for odd things that come up or crises that come up like life. All of those things outside of the curriculum, while also having some responsibilities within the curriculum, depending. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun, like for people that
So much
enjoy
fun.
working with students.
Yes.
And making a huge impact.
Hopefully.
Yes. You are,
Thank
for
you.
sure. And I hear that from the medical students who come
do?
through. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear.
They're very thankful for you.
Oh,
And
really good to hear.
you've made a difference in Southern Illinois, not only with your OB-GYN practice, but now with the medical school. And the measure of a person shouldn't be the institution's peers' view of picked a career, stayed in a career, lost some family members along the way, but was only got remarried 5 times and, was able to end their career in a wonderful depression that's perfect for normal physicians, right?
Sounds terrible.
Like that, it's what's been, that's the path. And you're out there changing that, not only showing how to do it differently, but teaching students how to do it differently. And that's huge. Part of saving America, saving healthcare in America. So thank you.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. And all we want to do is make our community a better place.
Thank you so much for coming in, and we will continue to chat.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us today in our conversation. If you found this to be interesting, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and reach out to us. What else can we fix in healthcare? What else do we need to talk about? How do we become better physician leaders, supporting our communities and each other? Thank you so much.